Hey, everybody, welcome back. Happy Friday. It's November 18th, 2022. Just wanted to go over a few things with everybody. First, I want to take a look at the scoreboard, see how I did in my midterm predictions from last week. And then we'll talk about Trump and DeSantis a little bit and Nancy Pelosi a little bit, and then maybe some other stuff. We'll see. So, first off, the midterms are pretty much over, and they went basically how I told you they were going to go. I think a lot of people were surprised in the media and elsewhere. Everybody was waiting for that big red wave, the big red tsunami, which didn't really happen, thankfully. So, first off, I told you the Republicans would take the House, and that's exactly what they did, even though it was by slimmer margins than I thought. I didn't think it was going to be this close. I think they're going to end up with maybe a 5 seat majority. But nonetheless, Republicans took the House, and that was my first prediction I got right. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the old map here. All right. I think I made like 8 or 9 predictions. So we'll go through them. First, Pennsylvania. I told you John Fetterman was going to win. He ended up winning pretty comfortably. I think a lot of people were scared for that race, but I just kind of always knew that Pennsylvania was going to come through, and they did. So that's good. That's the first one that I got correct. We'll go up to New Hampshire. Some people were worried about this one, but I wasn't. Maggie Hassan ended up beating far right Trump guy Don Bolduc rather comfortably by almost 10 points. So that's 2 for 2. Down to North Carolina. People thought this one was going to be close, but I didn't really see it that way. The Republican ended up winning. That's what I told you was going to happen. So got that one right, 3 for 3. Down to Georgia. I told you that nobody was going to get 50% and it was going to go to a runoff. That's exactly what happened. So we'll see what happens next month in that race. So got that one right, 4 for 4. Florida, this one wasn't a very difficult one to predict, but I told you Rubio was going to win, and he ended up winning by 16 points. Jeez, Florida is a deep red state these days. So that's a bummer. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5. Let's go to Ohio. I told you JD Vance would beat Tim Ryan. He did relatively comfortably. So that's 6 out of 6 right for me. We'll go up to Wisconsin. I told you Ron Johnson was going to beat Mandela Barnes. That's what happened, even though it's closer than I thought it was going to be, but he ended up winning by 1 whole point. So that's a bummer. Ron Johnson is just a real bad person. So it's a bummer. He's got 6 more years in the Senate. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 7. And then Louisiana, Iowa, I told you the Republicans are going to win, but I don't really count those. Those were easy guesses. Colorado as well. Democrat won that one. So we're still going to go 7 out of 7 for me. Let's go down to Arizona. This is another one everybody was nervous about. I told you Mark Kelly was going to beat Blake Masters. That's exactly what happened, pretty comfortably. So that's another one I got right. That's 8 for 8. And now we go to the last prediction, Nevada. This is the only one I got wrong. I said the Republican was going to beat Cortez Masto, but in the end, the Democrat pulled it out. I'm happy about that. So this is the one that I got wrong. This was probably the hardest one to predict because the polls were so close. And it's just Nevada is a funny state, man. So, I gave the advantage to the Republicans just because I thought maybe they had a little bit of wind at their backs or whatever, but thankfully they didn't. And the Democrat won that race, and that ended up capturing the Senate for the Democrats, no matter what happens next month in Georgia. So my Senate predictions, I got 8 out of 9 right. Almost 100%. Let's go ahead and look at the calculator here. Let's see what 8 out of 9 is percentage-wise. 89% correct. That's pretty good. I feel pretty good about that. And then a few other predictions. In Arizona, I think I said that Carrie Lake was going to win, and thankfully she didn't. Very close race. They just called it the other day, even though, of course, surprise, surprise, she's contesting the results. She said the election was stolen. That's kind of her whole brand. So I don't know. I don't think she has much of a case, but we'll see. So that's another one I got wrong. And then the last prediction was in LA, the LA mayor's race. I felt like Rick Caruso was going to win it. I didn't want him to win, obviously, but I've been hearing things from friends back home, and I don't know. It just kind of seemed like it was going to happen, but thankfully it didn't. Karen Bass beat Caruso. They called the race a couple days ago, so dodged a bullet on that one. All right, so that's the predictions. I feel pretty good about it. Things went pretty much how I told you they were going to go. Democrats had a real shot at taking the House, actually, but it turns out the Democratic Party of New York made a lot of mistakes, and that might have cost the Democrats the House. So we're going to have to deal with the Republican House for the next 2 years. What are you going to do? Could have been a lot worse, I guess. Which means that with Democrats holding the Senate and Republicans holding the House and Democrats holding the White House, that pretty much nothing's going to get done over the next 2 years. And the presidential election is basically underway, which leads me to Donald Trump. A couple nights ago, he made his announcement for 2024, which was not surprising. He told everybody he was going to do that. So I don't know, man. The big question is if anybody's going to run against him. And, everybody's waiting to see what Ron DeSantis does. If I had to guess right now, I would say that DeSantis doesn't challenge Trump in 2024. I just think there's too many downsides to him trying to take on Trump right now. First off, if they did run against each other, I think that Trump still wins the primary. I know that DeSantis is very popular, but I think Trump's still the big daddy of that movement, man. And so if I was DeSantis, I wouldn't run. I would just wait. He's only like 44 years old. So I would wait 4 years. And he just got reelected as governor. So, he technically has a job for the next 4 years. So he would have to leave his job early to run for president. I just think there's too many negatives that can come out of it. He would immediately become like an adversary to Trump, which doesn't go well, historically speaking. But the only downside to not running is, a lot of politics, especially presidential politics, is, striking while the iron is hot, I guess. And right now, DeSantis' stock is about as high as it's going to be. He's coming off of like a 16-point reelection win in Florida. So this would be the time for him to run. It's just, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I don't know who's going to run against Trump in the primary. I think Liz Cheney's talking about running. I think Mike Pence might run, but those two don't have any shot. So if I had to guess, put money on it right now, I would say that Trump's going to get the nomination. And we're probably going to have a Trump versus Biden rematch in 2024, which is scary. And to predict what's going to happen in the general election, I can't do that right now. Way too many things can happen between now and then. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that. And what else? Nancy Pelosi announced her retirement yesterday from Democratic leadership, but not retiring from the House of Representatives. She's not giving up her seat. She's basically just going to pass the torch, I guess, to the next generation. So the next in line to be leader of the Democrats in the House, not speaker, because Democrats don't control the House in the next 2 years. But the next person in line is Congressman Hakeem Jeffries from Brooklyn. And a lot of people, myself included, I think that in a lot of ways he would be worse than Pelosi. I know that's hard to believe. But I'm no fan of Jeffries, man. He's very much a corrupt establishment, corporate figure. And in my view, he's even more openly hostile towards the left wing of the party than Nancy Pelosi. It's he's very open about it. I think he said things that, like, and I'm paraphrasing, but he called himself a progressive Democrat, but he will never bend the knee to the, quote, far left Democratic Socialist wing of the party. So Hakeem Jeffries is going to be a problem, and I'm not excited about him becoming the leader in the House. So the question is, will anybody challenge him? And I don't know, man. The only candidates on the left, I don't think anybody from the squad would challenge him, just because they haven't showed that they're courageous enough to do that. And a lot of them haven't really been in the House for more than a couple of terms. So the only people I can think from like the more progressive-ish wing of the party would be like Ro Khanna. He could do it. Even though he's not the best, but I would much prefer him to Hakeem Jeffries. Maybe Katie Porter. She just held on to her seat. I think they called that one yesterday. So, and then the only person I can think of that's been around for long enough and is like friendly or progressive-ish is Congressman Jamie Raskin in Maryland. You know, he's not hostile to the left, but he's by no means a leftist. But Jamie Raskin would be the only one I think that could like successfully. He would have enough support to maybe challenge Jeffries, but really, I don't think anybody's going to challenge him. If I know the Democratic Party, they're just going to pass the torch or the baton or whatever, and it's just and probably everybody's going to vote for him, and then we're going to have to deal with this guy because he's a young man. So not good news. And I don't know. I guess that's it. Oh yeah, they just called the race officially for Lauren Boebert in Colorado. She got real close to losing. I think the final count's probably like 500 or 600 votes. So that one wasn't on my radar, but man, got really close to beating Boebert. That would have been nice, but she's back for another 2 years at least. And yeah, I guess that's it. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe. Love you. See you later.